Rights Watch has reported a wave of killings near Virunga that left, we believe, over 140 people dead. Take us through what your team has been able to uncover about how these massacres unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely. We released a report yesterday documenting mass killings by the M23 with the support of the Rwandan army in an area that's bordering the Virunga National Park. It's a very fertile area where farmers normally come during the plowing season. Some set up huts and live in their fields with their families. What we found was that between July 10th and 30th, M23 carried out executions of at least 140 civilians, primarily ethnic Hutu, including women and children. The UN has reported that the death toll is over 300, and sources on the ground have told us that that's a credible and likely death toll. We were able to confirm 140 cases. Um, what we found was that M23 blocked off the area, access to the area, and went into the field and carried out executions of including entire families. So we spoke with people who managed to hide and saw the M23 kill their entire families, including babies as young as 9 months old, right in front of their eyes. We spoke with a woman who also said that a group of around 70 people, including women and girls, were rounded up and taken to a nearby river, where they were lined up against the river and shot dead, and their bodies falling into the water, flowing away. People told us that M23 prevented them from taking the bodies of their loved ones out to organize funerals. Some were buried on the spot, some were left where they fell out in the fields, which indicates a desire to prevent people from identifying the full number of dead. And this really, in our opinion, highlights the need for an independent investigation to take place. The UN earlier this year established a commission of inquiry, which it has yet to operationalize. It should be urgently operationalized, and Rwanda and M23 should give access to independent experts to be able to carry out an investigation and determine the full scale and scope of the abuse.
It must be difficult to collect and verify all of these testimonies, especially with such a volatile and dangerous environment. How are you able to gather all this information?
It is, and people are afraid of speaking. They're
Mm.
afraid of retaliation. Some have fled to neighboring towns. Some have even fled into Uganda out of fear. But we were able to speak with over 2 dozen witnesses and survivors who shared detailed information with us about the killings, those responsible, the chain of command on the ground. And we also corroborated accounts using satellite imagery, maps. We reviewed photographs, videos that were sent to us and had them analyzed by forensic pathologists who confirmed that the injuries were consistent with those of mass executions. People's hands were tied behind their backs. They displayed machete wounds or gunshot wounds, for example. We also spoke with medical sources who confirmed that many injured were being taken to medical facilities in the area with machete wounds, gunshot wounds. So we tried to use as many different sources as possible to corroborate the information that we received directly from eyewitnesses and survivors.
How have Congolese authorities and maybe even regional actors responded to your findings? I'm wondering if there's a political will to act on this evidence.
Well, the area is under the control of the M23, and the Congolese state isn't able to exert authority over those areas under M23 control. However, Rwanda, which backs the M23 armed group and has effective control over the M23, is ultimately the state that can be held, or its commanders can be held criminally liable for the actions of M23 in this situation if they had known about the abuse, had failed to prevent it, or failed to punish it. And we received first-hand accounts from residents of the area who told us they saw Rwandan soldiers on the ground alongside M23, and this was confirmed by UN and military sources. But beyond that presence, because of Rwanda's control over M23, it can be considered an occupying force, and therefore its military commanders can be held accountable for the abuses that are committed in areas under M23 control.
This isn't sadly the first mass killings attributed to the M23. Do we know why this cycle of violence keeps repeating despite ceasefire agreements and peace talks?
Well, one of the key issues that's of concern to us is the lack of discussion on justice and accountability throughout these peace talks and negotiations. And one of the commanders who was responsible for these operations was a known was implicated in war crimes over a decade ago during the last iteration of the M23 conflict. And my colleagues back then documented his responsibility in possible war crimes, and he was put under UN sanctions. So it shows the importance of addressing impunity when attempting to broker peace discussions. In addition, there really needs to be a some kind of mechanism in place, and the peace agreement the US has brokered puts in place an oversight mechanism and a security coordination mechanism, but that need to be able to respond to these types of violations. The parties committed to protecting civilians as part of the US peace deal, and there needs to be some kind of mechanism that will trigger investigations when these types of large-scale abuses happen, and make sure that there are no war crimes that are committed in the context of operations that have been agreed upon in the peace agreement. In this case, we're talking about anti-FDLR operations.
Right. Clementine, we're going to have to leave it there, sadly, but thank you so much indeed for giving us some insights in these tragic events. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
That was Clémentine de Montjoye, Senior Great Lakes Researcher at Human Rights Watch, speaking about recent atrocities committed by M23 rebels in eastern DRC and urgent action needed to protect civilians in the region. And that's come out in one of Human Rights Watch's recent reports. It's 7:30.